October 2nd, 1999. The wilderness is not your friend. We like to think of our national parks as curated gardens, places of peace and natural beauty. But for thousands of people, these forests have become a trap, a place where the laws of physics and the rules of logic seem to simply dissolve. This is the first entry in our series on the missing 411. These are not stories of people who got lost. These are accounts of anomalous disappearances, people who vanished in a heartbeat, often in the presence of others, leaving behind no tracks, no scent, and no explanation. In this episode, we are digging into the most famous case in the archive, the case that defines the profile. This is the story of 3-year-old Jaryd Atadero, a boy who ran ahead of his group on a trail in Colorado and stepped into a void that would not return him for 4 long years. Tonight, we are treading into the tall grass of the Comanche Peak Wilderness. Welcome to the portal, where myths, nightmares, and mysteries are just one step away. My name is Epoch, and I will be your guide. To preserve the light, we must first face the dark. The Silent Predator. It was a beautiful autumn morning. Jaryd's father, Alan, was staying at a Christian resort called the Singing River. A group of 11 hikers from the resort decided to head up the Big Thompson Canyon Trail. Jaryd was an energetic 3-year-old. He was wearing a brown pullover, blue sweatpants, and small white sneakers. As the group moved up the trail, Jaryd did what kids do. He ran back and forth between the hikers. He was at the front of the line, then he would run back to the middle. He was never out of sight for more than a few seconds. At one point, Jaryd ran ahead, just around a bend in the trail. 2 hikers at the front of the group saw him stop to talk to a pair of fishermen by the river. They assumed he was safe and that the rest of the group was right behind him. But when the rest of the group rounded the corner, Jaryd Atadero had vanished into thin air. If you have watched this far, remember to subscribe, like, and comment what would you like to see next. The scent void and the search. What followed was one of the most intensive search and rescue operations in Colorado history. But this is where the missing 411 profile points begin to appear. The first anomaly, the dogs. Bloodhounds and specialized tracking dogs were brought in immediately. Usually, a child leaves a massive scent trail, but the dogs could find nothing. They didn't even try to track. Witnesses say the dogs seemed confused or strangely fearful, circling back to their handlers and refusing to enter the brush near where Jaryd was last seen. The second anomaly, the granite. The area is dominated by massive granite boulder fields. In 411 cases, disappearances happen near granite with terrifying frequency. Some believe the mineral composition of the rock interferes with tracking, or perhaps something more. For 8 days, helicopters with thermal imaging cameras flew over the canyon. 500 searchers combed every square inch of the terrain. They checked the river, they checked the caves. They found nothing, not a footprint, not a scrap of clothing. It was as if Jaryd had been lifted straight off the earth. The discovery on the cliff. 4 years passed. The case went cold. Most assumed Jaryd had been taken by a mountain lion or had fallen into the river. But in June 2003, 2 hikers were moving off-trail in an area far above where Jaryd had vanished. They reached a steep, rugged incline, 550 feet above the trail. There, in the middle of a clearing, they found a single white sneaker. Then they found a pair of blue sweatpants, and finally, a small fragment of a skull. This discovery should have brought closure. Instead, it brought horror. The location was impossible. To get there, a 3-year-old would have had to climb through dense, tangled brush, up a near vertical slope, and over massive boulders. A professional hiker would have struggled to make that climb. How did a 3-year-old get there? And then there was the condition of the clothing. The sweatpants were inside out, but they were not shredded by a predator. More importantly, the shoes. Jaryd's white sneakers looked almost brand new. The rubber was not worn down. The laces were still tied in a double knot, exactly how his father had tied them that morning. If a mountain lion had dragged him there, the clothes would be torn to rags. If he had walked there himself, the shoes would be destroyed by the granite. The shoes were placed there, but by what? The missing pieces. When the investigators examined the site, they realized the most chilling detail of all. Inside the shoe, there was no foot. Inside the sweatpants, there were no leg bones. There was only a single tooth and a small piece of his skull. The rest of Jaryd was gone. No other bones were ever found in the area. If an animal kills a child, it leaves a kill site. It leaves heavy bones like the femur or the pelvis. In Jaryd's case, the heavy bones were missing, but the light, fragile clothing and a single tooth remained. It was as if the predator had been selective, as if it had taken what it wanted, and then, years later, returned the shell of the boy to a place where it knew it would eventually be found. This is the hallmark of the missing 411, the return to a previously searched area, the impossible travel, the untied laces. It defies biology, and it defies the behavior of every known animal in the Colorado wilderness. Conclusion. The series begins. Jaryd Atadero is not an isolated case. He is a data point in a pattern that spans across every national park in America. What is taking these people? Is it a cloaked predator that tracking dogs cannot smell? Is it a soft spot in our reality that opens and closes in the granite? Or is it something far more sinister, something that watches us from the tree line, waiting for that one silent second when we turn our heads? Over the coming weeks, we will be treading deeper into these archives. We will look at the vanishings in the Bennington Triangle, the impossible travel of the Yosemite Missing, and the silence of the Smoky Mountains. If you are going into the woods this weekend, do not go alone. Do not let your children out of your sight, and for the love of God, stay on the path. Thank you for treading in the darkness with me. Subscribe to join us for the rest of this series. Good night.
Let us now step back into the portal and go to our segment of time and space. If you would like to see a longer video about what we went through today, Or if you would like to see another specific video, leave it in the comments. Feel free to check any of our previous voyages on screen. My name was Epoch, and I will see you again on one side or the other. Farewell.